The Secret of the Indian by Reid Banks, Chapter 9, Tamsin Drives a Bargain. By the time Omri and Emma arrived at Emma's house, half of Omri's allotted hour had passed and he was getting panicky. Emma didn't make things easier. "What are you going to say about Patrick not coming back?" Omri liked the way she... "What are we going to say about Patrick not coming back?" Omri liked the way she said we, making him feel less alone with his problems. They didn't want to confront this one. How indeed was he to explain Patrick's absence? Perhaps he could play both ends, so to speak, against the middle. If each household, his and Emma's, thought Patrick was in the other one, Patrick might not be missed for some time, but for a really lousy liar like Omri it was bound to be tricky. Patrick's mother was practically on the doorstep to meet them. "Well, where is he?" she asked without even saying hello. Emma turned to look at Omri expectantly. I came to explain," he said. "You see..." He swallowed hard. Her eyes were piercing him. He had to drop his. We went into Richmond Park this morning to look for chestnuts on our bikes." "Patrick's bike is at home in the country." "I mean, he used Guillaume's. We were playing. He got a bit lost, and I got fed up waiting for him to come home without him. I expect he'll be back soon," he added hastily as Patrick's mother rolled her eyes, gritted her teeth, and uttered a kind of snort. How like him to do the disappearing act just when I want him. Doesn't he realize we're going home today? What am I supposed to do? I have to leave." Excuse me. "Couldn't Patrick stay with us for a few days?" "Don't be silly. What about school? It's school tomorrow." She was obviously infuriated, and Omri couldn't exactly blame her. However, there was nothing to be done for the moment. Leaving her seething in the doorway, Emma pulled Omri past and into the small living room. "Leave Tam to me," she whispered. "She absolutely hates you for some reason." Omri felt rather hurt, even though it was entirely mutual. Tamsin was slumped in front of a small television set, watching some middle-of-the-day rubbish. Her leg, encased from foot to knee in a white plaster cast, was resting on a poof. She didn't even look up as they came in. Emma coughed. "Hey, Tam, want to add to your skiing fund?" "Fat chance of skiing when I'm like this," she said sourly. "You could go at Easter. I'll bet snow's always in April." Tamsin looked up sharply at that. Seeing Omri, her eyes narrowed. You look a right idiot in that bandage," she remarked. "Did someone give you a clout?" "Not since you," Omri retorted. Tamsin had the grace to blush. She turned back to her sister. "What about my skiing fund?" "Well, you know, your birthday and models." "I already said no," said Tamsin. "I won't swap." Emma shrugged with a wondrous carelessness. "I just fancy one or two of them, that's all. I'd buy them off you." Tamsin glanced at Omri again. "Is it anything to do with him?" "Who? No. Oh, no, of course not. You know, I wanted them yesterday." Tamsin's eyes looked beady. "If you wait till tomorrow, you can buy the same set at the model shop." "I need them now," Emma had to say, though she tried to sound careless. Tamsin uncurled herself slowly and frowningly. Without a word, she heaved her cast onto the floor and stumped out of the room. Omri almost felt sorry for her, but this charitable impulse was soon to pass. Emma nudged him. They waited. After a few minutes, Tamsin returned, carrying the box Omri recognized from last night. She opened it and displayed the contents. The figures held to a cardboard backing with elastic dangled tantalizingly before their eyes. Omri's flew to the surgeon in green operating theater gear, complete with table and tiny instruments, mere pinhead blobs. There were two doctors, one in a white coat with a stethoscope, the other, also in green, who was evidently part of the surgical team. It was as much as Omri could do to restrain himself from darting toward them. Instead, he thrust both hands into his pockets and turned away to gaze blindly at the TV set while negotiations between the twins proceeded. They seemed to take forever. Somehow, Tamsin could sense that Emma's casualness masked some urgent desire for the medical models. In the end, though, when the price had reached astronomical heights, several times what they'd have cost in the shop, and Omri was beginning to despair of Tamsin's greed ever being satisfied, the bargain was struck. The little figures were detached, the better part of Omri's fiver handed over, and Emma and Omri found themselves out in the hall again, tiptoeing toward the front door. Where do you think you're going, Emma? She stopped cold, Emma's eyes shut. It was her mother this time, the sister of Patrick's mother. And just such another, it seemed. Omri thought, God, she'll have to stop here, and that means I won't have to be bothered about her. Or, good, she'll have to stop here, and that means I won't have to be bothered about her. She's served her purpose, and surely, the fewer people who were the fewer people who were involved, the better. But he glanced sideways at Emma's face, and to his own astonishment he heard himself saying, Can Emma come back to my place for lunch? Emma's mother said, How will she get home? My dad'll run her back, said Omri glibly. Before dark, of course. All right, then, I suppose. They gave her no time to think twice. They were out and down the street as fast as they could run. Now, said Emma, as they sat on the train going back to Omri's district, I want to know everything. Omri groaned inwardly. He'd managed to fend off questions on the way to her house, but there was something in her voice that told him no amount of fending would work now. He turned in his seat to face her. Listen, Em, you've got to swear yourself to secrecy. Okay, she agreed readily. No, not like that. It's not just a game. You don't know how hard it's going to be to keep this to yourself. With Tam for a sister, I've learned how to keep secrets. Don't worry. Omri slumped back against the train seat. He'd have to trust her. It was too late not to. Okay, then, you saw them. They're real. They're no dream and no game. There's proper magic in this world to do with time and souls of people that can travel in time and from place to place and enter things like toys and make them come to life, and we can travel too. I mean, our spirits can. That's where Patrick is. He's time-traveling. Emma was staring at him. Why is it a secret? Can't you see? If grown-ups knew... Oh, yes, not grown-ups. If Tam knew... Oh, yes, not just grown-ups. If Tam knew... We wouldn't be allowed to keep it. It works. I might as well tell you this, with a special key. And a little bathroom cupboard and my oak chest. All that would be taken away. There'd be newspapers, TV... Emma sat up straight, her eyes alight. Would we be on TV? Omri's heart plummeted. Em, you mustn't. You must not think like that. Yes, we'd be on TV, and everything would be ruined. Emma sat back, frowning. He could see her thinking. He had the feeling she wasn't particularly used to thinking seriously, any more than he'd been himself before all this started. They'd hurried along the length of the Hobble Road, unmolested. The skinhead gang had gone, home for lunch, presumably. As they half ran, Emma said, Where exactly has Patrick gone? Well, said Omri, I'm pretty worried about that, and he explained how the key worked as best as he could. You have to take someone or something real or alive with you if you want to go to a specific place and time. Like when I went back to the Indian village last night, I took a pair of Bright Star's moccasins in my pocket. Patrick took Boone, but he forgot the rules, and as he went, Boone came back. So he could be anywhere, just floating about in time. I don't know. The only thing is... What? Well, it's only a slight hope, but I'm sure Boone, his plastic figure, was wearing his hat when Patrick set off. Maybe the hat got caught up in some sort of time current and attached itself to Patrick, in which case he went to Texas after all, because that's where the hat belongs. Complicated, isn't it? Said Emma, doing a London accent. Okay, let's do that again. Complicated, innit? Said Emma, doing a London accent. Omri wasn't into accents, so he just said feelingly, You said it. But he glanced at her appreciatively. She was taking it pretty reasonably. And she was fun. And it wasn't bad at all, having someone to help now Patrick had PO'd.